Good seeing everybody. Appreciate you being here. Focus had a chance to look at everything and study it and talk to all the coaches and see a few of the players. And we have a short week, quick turnaround. We'll be back in tomorrow with the players, so we'll have to have our game plan ready tomorrow, at least getting started on it with the first and second down plan tomorrow when we practice. And be getting ready for Saturday night for a game that, we will be all in to play our best football, our most complete game of the season. That'll be our goal, and come out with a win. What questions do you have?
John, do you have any updates as far as Lamar and his back?
Lamar has a back contusion, painful, certainly. Saw him in here getting treatment this morning and this afternoon early, and he'll be working. He's been classified as day-to-day on that. Nothing beyond a contusion, but I don't want to minimize the severity and the pain level of that because it's legit. And that's where it stands.
A lot of talk about Derrick Henry's lack of usage in the fourth quarter in the last two possessions. There's a sense of a rotation. It was a rotation to have Keaton Mitchell at the time. Who decides the rotation? And if not you, why not say, no, this is Derrick Henry. We need to have him in the game right now.
Yeah. Well, we have a rotation. The rotation is Derrick and Keaton are first and second down backs. And we came to that in the last few weeks and made sure that on all those plays, it was one of those two guys. That obvious pass was third down only for Rasheen, which I think he had 9 plays on. And then the rotation was 2-1 as far as starting the series off. And depending on how long the series goes, Derrick gets 3, 4, 5 runs, and then he's ready. He needs a break. So Keaton comes in, or vice versa. The last series was a conversation between Willie and Derrick, and they decided that Keaton was going to start the series off as part of the rotation, and that Derrick was going to come in that series. If I had looking back on it right now, to your point, I'd have grabbed it and I said, no, I'll put Derrick in the game. But that's not really the way it works in real time. It's the guys doing the rotation, the coach doing the rotation, and it's also the plays that are called. Certain plays are set up for Keaton, and that opening play was more of a Keaton play of the series. So I think that had a lot to do with him starting the series. And the idea would to bring Derrick in after a few plays. I would at least probably would have wanted him in after we got the first down. If I'd have grabbed it, if I'd have seen it. But I'm also looking at the play. The play that was set up on first down was a play action pass initially. That's a sweep play that Keaton takes most of the time. So that's going to draw eyes and draw attention to the play, and I can see why you'd want to put Keaton out there in that play. So I think there's a lot of layers to it in game. Things are moving fast, and that's the way it goes. And you look back at it and you say, I think there's logic going the other way for sure. And you just put Derrick out there for whatever the play is, and we'd have all been happy with that as well. So that's how it went.
Coach, in real time, were you aware that Derrick had not touched the ball after the second TD? And how much conversation do you have?
Well, we're talking about 6 plays. So we're talking about 6 plays that went back-to-back in a series, and we're trying to get the first down. So, no, the conversation is not really geared toward, who's going in the game on a play, because plays are getting called fast. And players are running on the field fast based on the game plan, what the rotating coach decides to do, what the tag on the play is, and who's got that play. And there's reasons for all that are game plan. So I'm not defending all that, and heck no, you can pick plays or who goes in or when they go in. But it's not just as simple as, Derrick Henry didn't play the whole fourth quarter. It was those plays back to back. He was going to go in. That was part of the plan. And it was felt in making those decisions, guys running on off the field as plays are being called in the rotation to go that direction. As I look back on it, I'm like, sure, I see the point. But I'm also not in the midst of saying, whoa, time out. Keaton, come on, I want Derrick in the game in that moment. So that's a reality too. So I'm not trying to make excuses for it, but trying to put it in perspective. That's how it works.
I guess I'm asking, though, is there communication or maybe even an intervention with Todd saying, hey, we need to get Derrick on the field or get him more involved?
Well, I think I just answered that. In that fast, real time, as those plays were going and those plays were being called, and that player's going on the field, and he's on there for that reason, for that play, I'm thinking about the play. Is it going to work? Maybe what the next play is going to be, and what our fourth down idea is going to be if we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yards out, or whatever it might be situationally. So there's a lot of things you're thinking about, and it's not necessarily always, oh man, I'm going to have to answer for Derrick not being on the field on this play later if it doesn't work. That's not what you're thinking in real time, just being honest.
Just for clarification, I know you're saying it's a very speedy process. So in the case of, like you said, you guys did get the first down before ended up punting on that second to last drive. If you were to say, we want Derek to go in after this.
Yeah, of course. I could definitely, absolutely. I've done that before. I put players in, I've taken players out, put defensive players in, put rushers on the field during the game, in real time during the game when I see that stuff, absolutely. But I knew what the play call was, and there's a check, it was actually a check with me play, I knew what it was, and I knew the idea was to mark the ball over the middle off a fake toss sweep that Keaton's been running pretty effectively, and that they think he's an outside runner, and that they're going to run to that play. And then the defense itself, the look checks us out of the play. So, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of layers to it.
On a fundamental level, though, isn't the thought, at least for a lot of people, is Derrick Henry was signed to be in the game at that time, at this times of these games.
Yeah. I'm not arguing that. That's why I'm saying if I look back on it now, I'd rather have him out there. Absolutely. I'm not arguing that at all on a fundamental level.
On the other side of the ball, I mean, when we talked to Kyle Hamilton after the game, he said it got to the point where we knew that Drake Maye was going to drop back and throw on almost every play, and yet he's still able to propel them down the field on those 2 touchdown drives. When you look back at it, why was he able to be that successful on those drives?
He made a lot of good plays, and we didn't make the plays we needed to make. I mean, we had opportunities. We had the ball in our hands a couple times. We had a chance to bat a ball down in a critical situation. We had chances to sack him in the backfield. We got him sometimes. We hit him sometimes. Sometimes we hit him. We got there and the ball was out and guys made great catches. I mean, all the plays you saw in the game are the things that I saw, and that's why. It's what you saw transpire during the game, and that's what happened.
Have you had a chance to talk with Mark about that play where he kind of just laterals the ball that he kind of talked about what went through his mind at that point?
Yeah, he said he made a mistake. He said it wasn't a smart play.
John, did you talk to Tyler Luke came up short on a kick that's not a kick we've seen him kick longer. Was that just not a struck ball, or what did he say about that kick?
Yeah, he didn't like his technique on it. I watched it this morning with him, and his timing on his start was off, and it just messed up his footwork a little bit, and he ended up pushing it. Got under it a little bit and pushed it right, got a lot of rotation on it, and that's why he came up short. He's I'm certain he's capable of making that kick, but it wasn't a good approach to the ball.
John, how serious is Voorhees with the foot injury, and how did you think Henry Jones played filling in?
I don't know how serious. I don't think it's another day-to-day one. We'll see how it goes. I thought Emory played okay. I mean, there's going to be plays that he's going to want back from a pass protection standpoint. But he competed. He's tough. He looked like a young player, but he looked like a good, talented young player. So I was really happy about that. But there's nuances involved there that he's going to want to keep improving on. But you improve on those things by playing. There's no question about that. And I believe he's got a great future.
John, maybe say someone like Zay, who's, you want him to stay confident, but the ball security issues continue to kind of linger with him, just as a young player. How do you kind of coach him through that?
We had a conversation during the game, about some of the plays he was making, and he was doing well. After the game, happened, the last play or two of the game, I haven't had a chance to talk to him about it yet. I didn't see him in the locker room with all the media stuff going on. But I'll talk to him in a sense, just like I did the last time and the time before, about trying to build in, the idea that, practice makes your habits, and you've got to continue. And nobody practices harder. The thing about Zay is he works really, really hard at practice, and he focuses on those things. And yet, man, the ball gets punched out, from a blind spot. So we just got to keep on working on catching it, putting it away, and getting upfield and protecting the football. When you're in traffic like that, when you're what we call catch and run, puncture type situation in the middle of the field, that seems to be where the issue is. So, or going to the ground, that's the other issue. So try to keep working on those things like you would with anybody from a technique standpoint and also from an emphasis standpoint. But you don't want to you want to keep believing in a player like Zay. Like when you got a talented player like Zay who is a playmaker in every sense of the word for you, who works really hard and cares a lot. As a coach, that's not a throwaway. That's something you want to embrace that player and that person because they deserve it, and that's your job as a coach, is to do everything you can to help him work through it and become better at that one area that he needs to continue to improve. And the good thing about Zay is he'll tell you, he understands. He wants to improve on that. He doesn't want that to happen.
With Lamar, I mean, I know you never want to sort of step on the instincts of an excellent playmaker like that. But with Zay, do you ever think about telling him, there are situations where you don't want to try to make the extra move, where you do just want to get upfield or get out of bounds or what have you?
Absolutely, absolutely. We talk about keep it simple. The simple play is usually the best play. And then there's going to be plays where he's going to make an extra move and he's going to go make a bunch of yards, which he's done before. So you're talking about world-class athletes here. That do amazing things. So it's not like there's a balance to it. It's just you have to respect the player, and then in that situation you have to trust his ability to make those decisions. And over time, those things need to be worked out. He needs to prove you right in that sense.
Before Lamar got injured, how old did you think he was playing in that first half?
I thought he was playing well. I thought Lamar was competing and doing a good job and fighting and made some really good throws. I thought he was playing well.
He kind of thought it might have been like he was already down. Did you think there was anything with that hit at all? Was it late or?
It was close. It was close, but I don't assign any malicious intent to it by the player.
John, on the 4th and 2, where Ardarius goes for the deflection, just look at the game film. Stephon Diggs is probably their best receiver. I know you guys have so much faith in Ardarius Washington, but did you like that matchup considering just the talent that you guys have in that secondary for him to be in the slot against Diggs?
Well, that's the matchup that we had, so that's the players on the field matching up. That's the way it works, the way the coverage is set up, and you can't organize everything perfectly after the fact. But I'm confident in Ardarius. I think if he doesn't slip, I think he makes the play. He's going to get both hands on the ball. He might catch it. He knew the route was coming. I mean, he was very prepared for it. He was ready for that out route in the slot, and you can just see his feet kind of got tangled up. It's probably a function of he hasn't been playing a lot, So, if anything, but he's the best guy to put out there in that situation that we had, and we love Ardarius. I mean, he's made a bunch of plays. Before the play, I'm thinking he's going to make this play, and if he doesn't slip, he makes the play, and that's the frustrating part of it. I mean, for all of us, for Ardarius more than anybody, but for all of us, fans and coaches and players alike, is that sometimes your best plans don't work out the way you want them to, and we're off the field right there. Just like Nate, Nate makes a great play, great coverage, great eyes, great technique, everything you coach, the ball's right there, it pops out of there for some reason. If he can cradle that ball in there, the game's over. Those are 2 plays that end the game. So that's how close it is in terms of just playmaking that makes the difference in games like that.
Why has it been so difficult to get Rashad Bateman involved?
That's a really hard question to answer the way you put it. The way the games go, where the ball goes, you can't control as a coach. Even the play caller can't control where the ball goes. I mean, we had some play action passes. We had one. I'm gonna think out in my mind. We had a post route that came wide open, but he didn't have time. Didn't have time to get him the ball. Because of the way the pass protection went on that play. He was off his back foot and he couldn't get him there. You might remember that play. Maybe that's one of the plays you're referring to. So it's different things like that, that happen in the course of the game. I'll say this about Rashad. I mean, I was really impressed with the way he played, and I think he deserves the ball more. There's no doubt. He's running really good routes, and he's blocking really well, which you appreciate. So we want the ball to go his way, and I appreciate the way you asked the question there, Jeff, in that sense, because it's challenging. But we threw the ball how many times? 20 times, right? Ran the ball 33 times, threw the ball 20 times. We threw the ball and dropped back 9 times. And 11 of those times were run down passes that were play action passes or quick ball out passes, for run type defenses. So you only have 9 true drop back passes out of 20 total passes. It's probably going to limit everybody's opportunity. We did get the ball to D-Hop, which we hadn't been able to do for a while. We got the ball to Zay 7 times for 7 catches. So that's where the ball went this game, But also, I want, Bate didn't play before. I mean, Bate wasn't playing for like 3 weeks, the high ankle. It's the first game he's been back, in a month, 3 weeks. So the reason he didn't get the ball in the last 3 weeks, he wasn't out there. So he's definitely a guy. I mean, I appreciate the way he played. I guess I look at it more like that. We're going to try to get him the ball. The ball's going to go his way. But I watched the tape and I said, Bate played really well. And I felt good about that part of it.
Situation with Isaiah Likely, I don't think he's been targeted the last 2 games. Is that just circumstances?
I think so. I mean, he was targeted against Cincinnati, but we couldn't get the throw off. You remember on that first down play where he ran the wheel route. So it's really the same answer.
Recognizing, there is still a possibility of playoffs. You need help now. I get that. When teams don't make the playoffs, there's a focus on potential staff turnover. Do you have any fear for your own job security here, or do you anticipate being here next year?
Yeah, thanks for asking that question, Bo. Well, first of all, yeah, no, that's good. It's a great question. I mean, it's just sports. It's how it works, And one thing I always have believed is that, first of all, coaching at any level is a day-to-day job, and your job is to do the best job you can today. And to do everything you can to help your players and your coaches, if you're a head coach, be the best they can be every single day. And it's never been about keeping a job. And there's no such thing as like your job or my job. We have responsibilities. We're given opportunities to steward those responsibilities, and you're given a job to do that until you're not. And then you try to do the best. I try to do the job, not try to keep the job. Because there's no such thing as having a job, just doing a job. And so my focus is on always, and has been for the last 18 years here and the last 41 years in coaching, or is it 42? It's up there. It's been to try to do the best job I can today and fight as hard as I can so the guys can have the best chance to be successful today. And anything after today, I'm not thinking about because, it's not given for us to think about. We don't have control over that except for the job we do today. And if we do a good enough job today, then the opportunity to do that job or a different job will be there tomorrow. And that's what you hope for.
Along those lines, what has the dialogue been like with you and Steve recently? I mean, the last 3 home games you guys have lost, it's kind of uncharacteristic. What is his message? What has his tone been in those discussions?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of messages. Steve has been fantastic. He's a great leader. He's supportive. He's also challenging. Steve wants to win. He wants to be successful. He's one of the I've been around a lot of competitors, in this job, or even in my family, and there's no bigger competitor than Steve Bisciotti, and that's one of the many things I admire about him and appreciate of him. So he's been great. He's been challenging in every great kind of way, and I appreciate that. And he helps me to be better, and that's what I'm grateful for.
In those discussions, have there been talks about the future? Has there been any kind of assurances or anything like that?
Now, the future is today. The future is the Green Bay Packers. I mean, that's what we're looking at.